So, hello everybody, and welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. I'm Jem, this is Joe.
Hey,
and this is Sean.
Hello.
And together we all make up OFITD Productions. And in this podcast, we've taken a random online encyclopedia article. We've been given a week to individually come up with our pitches as to how to turn that article into a theatre show. And we're all going to pitch them now, and then at the end we're going to smush those ideas together to come up with one final pitch that hopefully is coherent, hopefully is entertaining, and hopefully isn't just what? But yes, so this
I'm sorry,
week's...
what was that? Was that a word or a sound at the end there? What was...
I'm trying to mix it up, Sean. I'm trying to keep it interesting.
Oh.
Let's go straight over to Joe. Joe, do you want to tell us what today's article is in your best radio voice?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jem. This week's article is Aber and Inver, place name elements. Aber and Inver are common elements in place names of Celtic origin, both meaning confluence of water or river mouth. Their distribution reflects the geographical influence of the Brittonic and Goidelic language groups respectively, and place names Aber and Inver can be found within Australia, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, Brittany, England, the Isle of Man, Canada and New Zealand.
So a really fun, interesting, easy article for us to draw out some story, some engaging content, some live performance and a great theatre show from. If you can't tell the level of sarcasm I'm speaking to, then you clearly are more creative than at least I am, because I struggled with this one. How did you guys find it?
Honestly, this is probably the easiest I've found one of them.
I right now I feel like I'm on the verge of like a panic attack, because not only have I struggled to cobble something together, but that plus the mess that was getting my laptop to work. I'm yeah.
Okay, we're not going to go
Whatever.
over you. You're not going to start. I'm not going to pick on you. I think we're going to put Sean in a corner to breathe. Or do you want to go first?
I feel like I want to go first to firstly get it over with, and secondly, Joe seems confident. Right, I don't want to follow Joe again.
It's never a good sign.
I don't want to follow Joe again. If he's like, oh, I've got this, I've best I've done the whole thing, and I've got like, it's this. I don't want to follow him.
Yeah,
but you've got to remember, Sean, every time I think I'm doing well with something, it normally then fails. It's only when I think I'm going to fail that I accidentally succeed.
It's when you're this confident, especially when in the last podcast we turned around and said, Joe, your next week's challenge is to not make it a political pitch, but then you're still confident. It rattles the two of us, I think. Okay, right, so let's start with Sean, and I think the order is going to be Sean, then me, then Joe, because I don't think either Sean nor I have the balls to follow whatever might come out of Joe today. So, Sean, what's your pitch for Aber and Inver, place name elements?
I'm just gonna start off with just like letting you all know, I really struggled. Like this is the most work I've put into one of these, like multiple days, like thinking, genuine research. Yeah.
Okay, hit us.
Not just I went on the Wikipedia page and was like, boom, 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 that's a thing, let's link it together. No. Okay. So.
Wait. I'm in exactly the same boat. I sat there and I was just like, what? I actually have genuinely stretched the creative legs to try and make something. So, waiting with bated breath. Sure.
Okay, so because it's like the name of so many different places, I brushed that off because I thought I'm not just gonna pick like one place and do a show about that town, because it's very clear that it was two words, Aber and Inver. So I was like, I've got to do two things. Okay. So it's two shows that are like heavily linked together.
Okay.
One, this is where it gets weird. One is about the longest river in Wales, which is the River Towy. Now,
Okay.
it's not the longest river in Wales. It's the longest river that's solely in Wales. There are longer rivers that are in Wales, but then it goes into England as well. Yep. So
Okay.
just the one that's in Wales. And then the longest one that's solely in Scotland is called the River Tay,
Okay.
maybe. And my show is the premise is it's about starting at the start of the river and the journey of what goes down in the river. So what interesting landscapes or animals, or does it go through towns, and where does it finish for both rivers? That's the premise or the
Okay.
plot of the show.
Okay.
It's very vague, I know.
It's very wholesome sounding, potentially.
I know. So then I was trying to think, how do I do that? Do I do like a multimedia thing, or do we just get on a boat and go down the river? So I've this is rubbish. Sorry, this is a rubbish show.
No, keep
And
going.
it's gonna
Keep
get.
going.
I think there's
gonna get-
I think there's an interesting idea here.
There's
Oh,
an
whatever.
idea. Go on.
Don't humour me. And the form of theatre that I came to and decided to stick to is they're both going to be ballets.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a Welsh ballet about
Yeah.
the river, and a Scottish ballet about the river as well, and it's about the heritage and all of what makes each, country, because you've got the valleys in Wales, you've got the Highlands, you could do something cool with, like, I don't know, has anyone ever done ballet to bagpipes? You don't know, you could do that.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, yep. And then I came up with a crap name, and I was going to call it the Celtic Waters.
Mhm.
Because because I think I ran out of imagination. But then I just thought I'm going to call it Aber and Inver. But then
Okay.
like I'm thinking in the marketing, like if it's the Welsh one, the Aber is really bold and bright, and the Inver is like faded out, and then the same overall. And they're both linked shows, and I can't wait till we get a different thing for next week.
Okay. I have to say, I was sat there when you showed a little bit of insecurity halfway through that, and both Joe and I were sat there going, "No, it's okay." In the back of my mind, I was like, "Right, let's prepare some like rip off for what Sean's gonna say. Let's prepare the joke that's gonna rip into him." And then you said ballet, which is pretty much my idea as well.
See, yep. So mine's a ballet about a river.
Okay.
To be fair, not to give too much for advanced notions of this, but actually, it's going to be kind of easier. I'm not doing a ballet, but mine does revolve around two plays as well.
Sometimes here at OVD, we
Our
actually
ideas
have
sync up.
we do actually sync up quite well. I think I have questions about your idea, but it's mainly the vagueness of like when you envision the ballet and it being about the towns and the rivers and things like that. So are you imagining like the ballerinas and the ballettas are going to be like little bunnies and things, or like or are you going more like Matthew Bourne's style of gothic and artsy. Or
Bunnies.
there are bunnies in Scotland.
I wasn't thinking bunnies. I'm abstract. They're the waves. They're the current.
Okay.
They're Welsh culture. I'm going metaphors and
dance, full on
Yeah.
theoretical dance. So not less company dance. Romeo and Juliet, more sort of. I can't think of an abstract dance.
I want the audience coming out on the interval trying to work out what any of it meant. I want to do the inception of Welsh ballet.
Brilliant. That's going to be what we intend to get as a quote from the critics.
The inception of Welsh-Scottish ballet.
Yeah.
I thought I'd done really well last week.
Yeah, you did. And then we have to right the ship sometimes.
So, I don't have any particular questions, but Jem, do you think you want to tell us about what your
Okay.
idea is?
Okay. So,
I'm just working on the basis of I feel weirdly confident about my idea actually being decent, so I'm letting you two kind of,
all right.
go
Okay.
first so you don't feel like you had to follow me.
So
All right,
I
Joe.
Because I'm an arrogant bastard.
If you
no.
wanted to move on, I get it.
most people
No,
do.
it's because
ballet.
Sean. No more questions. I get your idea. I think it's good. No jokes.
I think it's good because mine aligns. So I struggled quite a bit as well. I read it and I read every single word of this article, hoping that there was going to be something, even just a little bit, just like in some of the other episodes that we've done where it's like, this is about a boat, and I'm gonna pick the one line that isn't about the boat. I couldn't find anything in this article. So I got really attached to this idea of confluence and how at a river mouth it tends to be two separate rivers joining together to create a stronger force, and I got really into that idea. And at first I was like, oh, is it a group of people, like students coming to somewhere like Aber Inver, and it's a story about how they learn about each other and their cultures and they become stronger together kind of thing. And then I thought, no, that's really shit. And nobody wants to watch that. Because if they do, they just go to uni in Aber Inver. And then I was like, okay, well, what about, the Scottish and the Welsh elements, and, have they ever joined forces in history? And then I was like, a really interesting story is the joining of all of the nations that create the United Nations. And I got really into that historical idea, did a load of research, and then realised all of my research were on other online encyclopedia pages that could come up. So I've banked that idea for later. But then I was like, okay, think about water and think about the fact that you've got all of the different languages is actually, because this is the Aber and Inver, they're out of Celtic languages, and Celtic languages are the Indo-European people, so the prehistoric people from Eurasia. It's Welsh and it's Breton, which is the language spoken in Brittany, which is a old western part of France. So I did loads of research because I was grasping at straws. I was struggling. And then I came up with the idea because I was just like, it has to include water somehow. So my idea is a verbal dance piece about the power of togetherness. Because I thought when I couldn't find an idea, throw myself back into what I'm very good at, which is creating theatre wank.
Yeah, I don't know if you could feel my whole body just sighing then when you said the phrase power of togetherness.
What is a verbal dance piece?
Oh, right.
I didn't even think about that. I was too focused on...
Yeah, whenever you see a really weird genre title for something that OFIT's done, you know that we've kind of sat there going, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's called Rivermouth, and it is two physical theatre and contemporary dances. So it's two dances, and they're on a stage that is it's full of water. So there's water, there's a water wall, there's lots of projection. I'm seeing rain coming down from the top of the stage, lots of light and colour and light, and that's what's being played around with the stage. But essentially, it's in two different languages. They speak in two different languages. You've got Welsh and you've got French. And we discover who these two people are, and it's a journey of them being individuals with their own individual languages. And then they find each other, and they initially find this barrier between them being the language. And I'm seeing like it's expressed through dance and small bits of language, so that the audience don't have to speak Welsh or French to understand what's going on. So that's where the physical theatre comes in, and a little bit of slapstick humour. But they kind of come together and think, okay, well, there's a bias, there's a difference between us, and they kind of try and do their own beautiful dances, but every now and then, like, a stagehand comes and like throws a bucket of water at them. So essentially, what I'm trying to do is get these two individuals. They explore each other. They come to find conflicts between each other because of the language barrier, but then they realize that they are both human beings, and they have to fight the water together, and like by joining together they are stronger and they can survive the onslaught of the water. Yes.
Why is he French?
Because French
is that purely because of the
Britain.
reference there being ABBA parts of Brittany?
No, it's because it says that it's place names of Celtic origin. And Celtic is Welsh, Breton. Celtic is referring to languages, and that's Welsh, Breton, which is Brittany, which is an old French thing, and then Indo-European language, which is a dead language.
So, just to get back to one other question that wasn't answered, is verbal dance just dance with words?
Yes, they're dancing and they're speaking, essentially.
Okay.
I tried to make it sound a lot better than it was, because I knew that the conclusion was that two people were going to fight water. I mean, it's very abstract. I'm sitting there going, oh, it's just going to be... I saw a really great physical theatre dance piece a few years ago where they did it in this pool of water, and they were playing with how when you move in water, how that ripples across the water and how it sprays, and you know what it is. So they were dancing with the water in a really beautiful way. I think it was called Boys. We saw it. It was at Aber Inver, Sean, so you would have seen it as well. It was one of the Theatre Passport shows back in like 2013.
Was it the two lads?
The two lads in the with the rain
Like
and the
the
water.
big-
Yeah.
The big wall at the back.
With the bit, yeah, I've nicked their set basically, but put more projection on it and some
Did
light.
it have... I don't think it had water.
It had lots of water. That was the big point. Is it had lots and lots of water and lots of lifting, which I know I was big into physical theatre, so we all sat there going, oh no, it wasn't dance or physical theatre, because all it was a show of lifting. But anyway, that's somebody else's show. I've nicked their set, but Boys by somebody. But I kind of thought, you know, water and then dancing in the water and then using
And then you
language.
thought, what if the water was the enemy?
Yeah.
I've got to be honest, like, if any of you were betting on what Jem's idea would be, and you had it ends with a ballet fighting the water, well done.
I think it was a case of I went down to my roots of my training and all of the things that I've been trained to create, and then right at the end, O50 and everything and all of the whimsy that O50 stands for kicked in, and suddenly water was the enemy. I've been focusing on comic books a lot recently, so maybe it's just that.
She's on that bit in Spider-Man Imaginated. Not imaginated. I can't talk. I'm still so stressed out about my idea. I cannot talk.
Sean, how are you still stressed out about your idea? I just pitched water as the enemy.
And yeah, and yet it was still better than my idea.
You have ballet bunnies and I have water as an enemy.
Hey, I don't have ballet bunnies. I have Inception, but Welsh.
Yeah,
Welsh Inception
the
ballet.
Welsh ballet Inception.
Anyway,
Okay.
I was going to make a joke about Hydra Man in Spider-Man, but I just...
We're
did,
both
you know,
panicking.
I gave up.
Imaginated it
So,
away.
Joe, you have to follow Inception, Welsh ballet, and a bit of Scottish. And
Can I just
water is the
say
enemy.
what I predicted? Joe, can I just make a prediction of what I think
Oh, go
Joe's is
ahead,
going to
yeah.
be?
Yes.
So when we got this, I thought Joe's is probably going to be something about like Margaret Thatcher closing the mines or doing, like doing over Wales in some way. And I was looking for. I knew in my head that's how he's going to get. That's where he's going to end. And was looking forward to seeing how he was going to get there.
See, I'm thinking Joe's tapped into the unionisation. I think Joe's tapped into the same idea that I've got, where it's like multiple forces coming together to create a stronger force. And I was
Don't say union.
I very nearly went, I know Joe's not allowed to do politics. I might just pitch a union show. But then when I need water, and then that was the devolution of my idea.
Yeah.
So, Joe, follow water's the enemy and whatever Sean's idea is.
Well, now you've said devolution in a real effort to try and trick me into stating something about it being to do with the creation of the Welsh Assembly, but no.
No.
My idea is about the concept of language. It is, in essence, I was taking the fact that it is the roots of it being this notion of Aber and Inver being very firmly rooted in a lot of languages that are either dying or dead.
Okay.
And I say this, sorry to any Welsh speakers, it's a beautiful language, it's not spoken enough.
Agreed.
But the notion that essentially we've seen that English kind of has become the predominant tongue of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. And it's replaced much that came before it. But in its own way, English is the concept. It is formed of roots in Germanic, in Latin, in elements of French, in Nordic cultures, I believe, from Viking settlers. It is a language formed of previous oppressors, of subjugators. And language is essentially a treatise between the subjugator and the subjugated. Sorry, I'm getting firmly into politics again. It happens.
No, you're good.
But yeah,
You're good, you're telling the
so
line.
mine is it's a cross between its two plays. It's one is an examination of, as I say, this notion of language, of kind of loss of the mother tongue, of how these languages are disappearing through the roots of kind of just like, I'm thinking almost like maybe just a performance poetry piece, but weaving in through kind of between English and bits of Welsh and Scottish, and this notion of how these languages are disappearing and how it's kind of almost like mimicking the ways of the river, of how it starts off, it comes out and it flows off into the sea and then it disappears off into something else. And it's almost like the water that was there to begin with has just become part of something else and has been forgotten. And my other half is an oral history of the creation of Esperanto.
Esperanto? Do you want to clarify that for any listeners and potentially both Sean and I? But I will not.
No,
bow.
I know Esperanto actually. It's in Red Dwarf,
Esperanto
Smeg off
is
you.
the most widely spoken constructed international auxiliary language. It was essentially an attempt to create a universal language.
Oh, you've
One
told me
that
about
took-
this before.
Yeah, one that has taken the roots of almost all major languages and tried to combine them into one that could be spoken by everywhere. But I see it as being much like the story of the Tower of Babel within the Bible, whereby it's about this notion of trying to bring everyone together and trying to make all societies work as part of one. It all eventually comes crashing down when it becomes clear that not everything works together. Eventually, disagreements happen, and it is impossible for people to keep going far too long without imposing a hierarchy. And I am doing this without trying to say the word socialism, but I said it. And Yeah, so essentially mine is it's multiple stories weaved into one another through performance poetry, through it could have elements of dance surrounding it, but through the notion of exploring how languages come to be created and how languages come to not be said anymore, how words come to mean different things, and how everything like a river flows off into the sea and becomes something else. Any questions?
I am so glad you didn't go first this week.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, like, most weeks, it's like, oh, I don't know, you know, oh, shit, you know, I don't know who's won if we were keeping score. But if we were, you have definitely won this week.
Yeah, you've.
Like, it's such a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I please just say the rejected idea that I had to nix, which was my original thought for it when you told me I wasn't allowed any politics.
Go. Yes.
It was going to be a discussion between a Welsh and a Scottish Brexiteer.
Okay, I'm glad that we put. Like, this is why we see a big theory. It's proposed by McKee is that you should put in creative. You should put in restrictions because it makes you be more creative. I think Joe's just illustrated that. Is that when you've got restrictions, you can be far more creative.
Yeah, I just needed to say it so that it was out there.
Agree.
I'd released it. I have allowed it to flourish. Now it can go be what it wants or die.
Exactly.
That's my excuse for being so poor this week, is that there was just too much on that Wikipedia page to pick.
Yes, there
was too many countries. There was names of places, and I was like, what?
Restrictions within the idea of Aber Inver placement, place name elements.
I'll be honest. All of this is formed from prior knowledge of things as well. I'm about to read the online encyclopedia page.
Wait, you haven't read it?
No.
Dude.
Oh, I hate you.
Look,
I really hate you. I really hate you
so
right now.
You say this like you don't think I already have a working knowledge of the concepts of the Gaelic and Celtic languages.
Okay, so if anybody who's listening to this right now would like to come on and be part of the Theatre Pitch podcast to replace Joe.
No, not after this week. No. Not.
Or match Joe.
We don't want to replace the one person who's brought a good show this week.
Oh, by the way, if you're wondering what the names of the two plays that are weaved in throughout it, one of them is also called Aber Inver. The half of it in Esperanto is called Kion Parolos Cordelia, which is Esperanto for what shall Cordelia speak. Because yes, I'm referencing King Lear as well as the Bible.
I've got a feeling that... Can you speak Esperanto?
No.
Ah.
Are you
I
telling
did
the
actual
truth?
research for this one.
Okay.
Oh, you did research, but you didn't. The research didn't include the Wikipedia
No,
page.
of course not.
Oh, Joe.
Welcome to how Joe's mind
Also,
works.
I've just completely missed it. Jem, your other idea about, like, you come together, you go to Aberystwyth and you learn. So your other idea was you go into university. It's only just acknowledged in my head, like, she just described her first year at university.
Oh, sorry. I did forget to mention the ending of mine being that it turns out that Esperanto is the only thing that can defeat the water.
Okay, so this is, that's a nice way to cue into us trying to figure out how to smush these together, because we can't just sit there and go, oh, well, we're just going to give it to Joe.
Gemma, you know in your show, you know in Game of Thrones, where, like, for 6 seasons, they were like, winter is coming. You know in your show, could it be, like, your catchphrase would be, like, the tide is coming in?
That's just the tide that is coming in is repeated in Welsh and French over and over and over again. Okay, so to smush these together, we have a few categories that they are fundamental to any theatre show. No matter what you're doing, you have to basically fill out this form when you're creating a show. If you've listened to it before, you know what the categories are, but we're going to start with the first thing you need for a show is a story or a concept. So what is the concept of our smorgasbordy show that includes ballet?
It's evil water.
It's evil water.
It's coming.
The Conception Ballet and
No, Joe, but it's basically what Joe said.
Yeah, it's what Joe said. Joe wins. Joe wins on the So it's the concept of language, and it's how languages are created and how they die. And so would you imagine that they're stories of that, of people's personal experience with language that are dying, and also historical anecdotes, or let's firm it up a little bit more.
Well, I'll be honest, hadn't really thought about it that far. I'd kind of winged it partially, having kind of thought, what if I do something about the death of language, and then kind of done some other bits around it. So I'm quite happy for this to be a bit where we think, what do you guys think could go in that show?
Yeah.
I think it would be nice to kind of combine it and have some bits of, as I say, in my head it involved a lot of performance poetry, but there's no reason it can't also involve bits of ballet or physical theatre.
Yeah, I'm thinking I'm thinking we do use the ballet and the dance and the physical theatre, and as well as the performance poetry. I think it is something that includes all of those things, and yeah, is potentially, because I mean, at least with my idea, I was imagining either the speaking and the dances are the same, but then in my head I was sort of like, well, maybe somebody is standing and speaking and the dance is happening behind them, so they're almost narrating that dance, as it were.
Yeah.
So that could be, shall we say that that's what we're doing?
Yeah.
All right.
I think in reflecting the kind of watery themes, though, very kind of, flowing lyrical dance would be appropriate for it.
Yeah, and I think what we can do is bring in, because in the wider landscape of dance, there are dance forms like maypole dancing and cross-sword dancing that are dying out around the world, and they're being kept alive by these little flagship communities who are keeping them in communities, just like languages in Welsh, just like languages in Gaelic. It's all being kept alive by active campaigns rather than it's just something that everybody's doing. And
if they come together, they can defeat the water.
It's the water that's killing Morris dancing.
Yeah. Water kills Morris dancing, and Morris dances.
And frankly, there will be a lot of people who probably sympathise with the water in this exchange.
Okay, so that's that.
H2O.
Oh, no, we're not getting political about this. So
I'm sorry, it's not a political statement to say that Morris dancing has too many bells.
I don't know what the bells represent. I'll find out for next week. Okay, so the story. I think it is it's that how languages are created and how they die, and I quite like the idea of it being people's personal stories, as well as moments of learning about Esperanto and learning about actually what is Celtic languages, because I think all of us have heard of like what actually is Celtic, and then because I know I sat down in this process and I was like, what actually is Celtic, and then I went down and fell down a hole of links because it was like Indo-European people, and I was like, what does that mean? And then it was prehistoric Indo-European people from Eurasia. I was like, there are too many links, I need to back off from this.
I did think it's worth weaving in here that obviously, in terms of the roots of the Celtic languages, I haven't actually looked that far down the page yet, but I'm assuming with the section on English place names with it weaves into it that some of the original places like that, because obviously you've got like Plymouth and Falmouth.
Yeah.
Mouth is obviously in the name. Originally, I think their names were Aberval and Aberplym, where it's because Cornish is a language rooted in a lot of the similar concepts to Welsh. And how you've got these languages that develop, and Cornish is another one where it's a language where the people that speak it fiercely defend the fact that they will refuse to allow Cornish to die.
Yeah, and I think you get that with Welsh as well. You know, we all three of us went to Aberystwyth University, a town where there's quite a fierce want and will to keep Welsh alive. You know, Welsh is the primary language spoken in that university. Didn't, I think, help any of us learn more than Popati Ping, and Araf, but you know, the Welsh are very, very proud of being able to keep that part of their culture and heritage alive, as they should be. But I think that's quite interesting, is to talk about language, and also potentially to weave in the idea of new languages that are being created through new cultures that are and very contemporary cultures that are emerging from the cross culture, especially in cosmopolitan areas. You're getting cross cultures that are emerging because there's a smorgasbord of other traditional cultures. And so new languages, you know, it's like you talk to any 14-year-old and they'll turn around and they'll like, remember when on fleek was like, what the hell does that mean? You know, and it's these new words that are being created because, and it's creating a language gap between very, very old people and very, very young people. And even, you know, we could bring in the language of computer language, because those are technically languages as well.
Gemma, could you explain to all of our listeners what on fleek means, please?
Okay, on fleek means sort of very fashionable, on the edge, cutting edge on fleek. Oh no, I've gotten to the point where I've used on fleek enough to understand it without being able to properly define it. I believe Joe is quickly giving
He's Googling it, isn't he?
He's Googling it.
Well, I found myself upon an online urbane dictionary.
And in your best radio voice, please, Joe, would you define on fleek for us?
It is on fleek, adjective, hella, on point, very good.
Yeah, on point.
Yep. So like my play suggestion today.
Yeah,
Your play suggestion today was on fleek, sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Jem, going back about new languages, so could we have like a Klingon section?
Yeah, why not? And even you can go into the whole top. You know, people speak. Oh, every nerd in my life's gonna hate me. What's the language they speak in Tolkien's world? Elvish. I swear there's another one that's got like more of an elaborate name. Or am I thinking of Klingon?
Dwarf?
It's Elvish on the Ring, isn't it?
It's Elvish. It's Elvish in Lord of the Rings. But anyway, yeah, we can go into all of those different things and how, you know, they're being used and they're incorporated. I like the idea of how English really just sort of picks and chooses and morphs and absorbs. It's like a pop culture reference that I can't make right now because my brain's not giving it to me because I'm still panicking about how bad my idea was because the water is the enemy. So, okay. So we've got the story.
I know your pain.
Yeah, man. We've got the story, we've got the style, both from Joe. So the stage setup of Joe's...
There's still more to do.
Yeah, so the stage setup.
This is your area, Sean.
Yeah.
You know what? You guys do this every week, and it makes me feel really like, just because I have like a theatre design degree, doesn't mean like my opinion means anything more than you guys.
Yeah,
Okay.
but Sean, you know it's because if you leave me to my own devices, I'll just say, screw it, black box theatre, and we'll have metal
Scaffolding at the
scaffolding.
back.
Yeah, and I'm going to say water wall and projection, despite the fact that I hate projection.
Okay,
so...
this is what we're going to do.
Uh-huh.
Right. It's going to be black floor, black wall, and we're going to light it from the side. So hopefully it'll just look like a black void, and the only things being picked up with the light are the actual people and the water. There you go. There you go.
I like it. Fantastic. So we're going to make the audience really need to pee as well.
I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, so that's the set, but we're thinking it's end on, right? The actual stage set up and the audience relationship. End on for us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no reason to go any other.
Yeah, let's just do end on.
Let's just play it safe.
Yeah, and I think it's just nice because then we can create these lovely pictures and tableaus, as is the theatre word for pictures.
And plus, we give them a bit of a gap between the stage because everyone knows water is the enemy, and we don't want to get the audience wet.
Exactly.
If we're going to do the idea of kind of having the the kind of narrator almost separate
narrator?
to the things. Well, there's a kind of person reading the stories essentially.
I think that there are multiple people. This is the next thing.
Yeah.
Is the next thing is the cast. So I
that's
think,
a good question.
I think it's multiple people. I think there are maybe 4 dancers and at least 4 speakers. If not, all of them do all of that. But I'd be looking at those kinds of numbers.
Yeah. Well, my question was going to be: do we put the narrators then to the sides of the stage, or do we put them up in the boxes?
Ooh, that's interesting. The idea of actually breaking the proscenium march.
Yeah. Because also, it then allows me to try not to talk about politics by taking the boxes out of the hands of the upper class.
Always.
I knew what was
How
coming.
do I not see them coming now? No, they're going to be on stage because we want to light them from the side, so all you can see is the people in the water. We've established they're on the stage, Joe. You've been out trumped. Bye, Sean.
No, Joe.
Sean, have I?
You're fine because I'll just use them boxes for light.
Extra lighting.
Extra light,
Yes.
more light. Okay, so I think there's multiple casts. I don't think it's huge. I think it's an ensemble cast, but not a huge sort of choral cast or anything like that. And are there any other needs other than water and potentially water that is evil?
Out of interest, if you get like holy water from a priest blessing it, do we have to find like a hardcore Satanist to bless the water to get evil water?
Evil water.
Do we have to disclaim that it's Satanist water?
Or in that it's linking through to Wales, ley lines, could it be druidic water?
Potentially.
Oh.
Is there an Aber or Inver style river that joins Wales and Scotland?
Oh, that's such a better idea. Why didn't I research that? Such a better idea.
Oh, if anybody's listening, well done for getting this far through through one good pitch. But I could see Joe is quickly searching for it. But if you've managed to get it into the comment section of this podcast before Joe gets through to it, you earn brownie points that only you
I
know
doubt
that
there
you know.
is. Because you'll have to go from Scotland and then like a
You'd have to
third
go
of
through
England
Liverpool,
and then go
through-
past Manchester and Liverpool and then like Wales.
Into Wales. It's interesting. We'll figure it out. We'll put it as a fun fact. If anyone can beat us to it, you're a star.
It's the Irish Sea. There you go.
It is, yes, it's the Irish Sea. So, any other needs other than evil water?
I don't know. I don't
think
know. I feel like I've had a mare.
I mean, I think I need at least 2 people on hand at all time to just fluff my ego. Because I'm the fucker who just suggested doing a play about language involving performance poetry, physical theatre, and Esperanto.
And on that note, so what I'm gonna wrap it up because I don't think we need.
I
any other
liked it.
needs.
I liked it.
I think we need to end the podcast before Sean has a breakdown, which will cause me to have a breakdown, which will leave Joe without any monitors so he can use this as a platform for his political agenda.
Oh no,
so,
I can talk without interruption for 40 minutes, okay.
So, we are Overdue Productions, and we, this week, are presenting you Aber and Inver. Is that the name of the show, or are we going to go with Rivermouth?
Yeah.
We're going to go
It's
with
Water
Aber.
is Evil.
Water is Evil. So we're going to go with Aber and Inver, or subname Water is Evil.
Water is Evil.
Which is, are we going to do the 2 plays idea, or is it just 1 play?
I think it's kind of its multiple plays
Multiple
weaved
bits.
into one another.
Yeah.
It's like a river, you know, various estuaries coming into it.
Brilliant. So, Aber and Inver, it is a play based on how languages are created and how they die and become something else. It's a series of personal stories to do with languages that are old, new, and regular, as well as historical stories that explore the ideas of Esperanto and language in its wider context. It sounds really boring, but it's going to be really great because it's a dance and performance poetry piece that is set in a proscenium arch theatre with a black void as it's set, lit from the side, so all you see is people and water, and those people are going to be our ensemble cast of dancers and poetry speakers, and it may or may not, every now and then, if you pay real good attention, have reference to evil water and how we can beat the water. So... Thank you so much for listening to this week's Theatre Pitch podcast. If you've got an opinion about any one of our pitches, let us know in any of the comment sections, or DM us, or send up a flagship, send us a pigeon, so long as you're keeping socially distant in doing so. But let us know if you preferred Sean's pitch of ballet through the rivers. My pitch.
Gemma, you're giving my pitch no chance. Okay. It's a ballet journey on a river in Scotland and Wales.
And it's
okay.
Inception ballet as well. So if you
God.
like Sean's idea, let us know. If you like my idea of Water is Evil plus some dance. If you like Joe's idea, which is all about language,
which
or
is good.
if you like the final idea, which is basically Joe's idea but with some more dance involved, let us know. And if you've got your own idea for how you would turn Aber and Inver place name elements as an online encyclopedia article into your own theatre production, let us know. And if we love it enough, we'll have you on the podcast. So...
Yeah, replacing me.
We're just
We
going
can't
to do
replace Sean.
We can't replace you. You're the only one who understands set. Thank you very much for listening, everybody.
Jem, this isn't the end of the podcast. Why are you ending it?
Isn't it?
No.
Who's picking the next
It's
one?
me. I've been
I'm panicking.
waiting.
I'm
I've been
panicking,
waiting here
Sean.
politely.
I just
Jem's
want it to end.
We're gonna go.
I
Right,
just want it to end.
Jem,
Go
I've
on,
got
Sean.
this. I've
You've
got
got
this.
it. You got
Okay,
it. Good.
guys.
Go for it.
I've got it here ready. I've already pressed random because I was waiting for you to stop talking. Okay.
Sounds about right.
I haven't read it, but I quite like the picture. Okay, so it's Otto Eichmann.
Huh?
Otto Eichmann. Okay.
Person, animal, or place?
He's a person. He's a German painter and graphic artist. He was born in 1865 and died in 1902.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm very excited.
Oh,
I feel
he
like
created the Eichmann typeface. That might be
Ooh.
fun to go with. Yes, I don't know if you can see the picture.
It's a man with a mustache for anybody who's listening.
For anyone who's listening, I would.
I feel like I could come back with like an actual comeback next week and not pitch evil water.
You and me have got a lot of work to do this week.
Yeah, we
to sort of... Okay, so I'm going to end the podcast now. If you want to follow me on various stuff, it's still Shawnee B. If you want to follow Joe on stuff, it's
Not Joe Ronchka, NotJoeRaczka.
that's correct. And if you want to follow Gemma,
It is OFITD_JEM for Gem.
that's our show. If you want to follow if you want to follow OFITD Productions,
Nearly going for the old name there.
you can do. We're on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. This is probably where you're watching it, so you already know we're on YouTube. But like, comment, and subscribe. Please watch the other ones, because they've been here. Yeah, this happened, but we'll be back up there next week.
We'll
Yes.
be back. But
Jem, I've got this, and
I need to feel important, Sean. I need to.
okay, and
I'm
then
passing the baton. There you go.
So that was the Theatre Pitch podcast for Aber and Inver. And oh my god, well done everyone for getting through it. And
Including
everyone just say goodbye now. And just wave. And then it will just fade to darkness.
Bye.
And it'll just fade
And then
to
we'll all be
Bye.
Together we can defeat the water!
Woo! Beat the water!
I am going to go have a cry.